Welcome to Irish Football Weekly, where we talk Notre Dame football here on the Grueling Truth. My name is Josh Benjamin. I am one of the hosts. The other host, my co-host, Tony Hunter, who's a former tight end for the Irish. He played back in 1979 to 82, was also a first-round draft pick, 12th overall by the Buffalo Bills in the 83 draft. You can catch our weekly show on our website, thegruelingtruth.net. Also on Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, which there's an app now, so you can subscribe to that, the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Also Google Music and iHeartRadio, so tons of media is there. We also have social media. I'm on Twitter, at CoachJB4, and we both have Facebook, Tony Hunter and Josh Benjamin. You can find us on there and talk some football. We also just created, not too long ago, an Irish Football Weekly Facebook page, so go on there and like and follow that as well. So tons of places to talk and chat Irish football for all you Irish football lovers and you newbies out there. Welcome. And Tony, let's get this started. What do you think?
I tell you what, I was heartbroken last weekend. You know, I was really looking forward to that darn Miami game, and I don't know, first couple of series we came out, we looked like we were ready to play, but it just looked like it just wasn't our day. We kind of went flat, and Miami was ready. They were at home. They were ready to play. And quite frankly, they took it to us, Josh. They took it to us, 41-8.
Yeah, and I'm glad you started on that game. It was, like you said, it was very tough to watch. I thought there were a couple times where I thought they were going to start pushing a comeback, and then, you know, Miami is a very, very tough team. They played at home with a big fan base, and
definitely
they had that turnover chain out, unfortunately, which we'll talk about
right
here in a second. But it was disheartening. But we also
it really was. You know, I was surprised to see how effective Miami was and shutting down our offense. You know, our offense, I mean, they've been steamrolling people all year long. But Miami was effective. They shut the run down. I think Josh Adams had 16 rushes for maybe 40 yards. That's unbelievable. That guy he had been averaging close to 10 yards a carry probably. And but Miami was able to shut that run down and with our dominant offensive line. But I'll give them credit because I thought defensively they had a really nice scheme going as far as being able to keep the runners inside, keep them contained by rushing. They're outside. Their defensive end, defensive tackles were closing in on Josh Adams and those guys as they tried to run up the gut. And they just they really contained our runners and pretty much can control the game that way. And Brandon Wimbush, he didn't have a really good game. I think he ended up 10 of 21 for 119 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So he's had better days in the air, and with us not being able to run the football and him not being able to pass it, it was just a very long day.
Yes, it was, and I just want to add to that as well. The first drive the Irish had, they got the ball first, and it was a first down play. It was around the 35-ish yard line of the Hurricanes, and they go to pass the ball, and St. Brown is open in the end zone, and I think he lays out, he catches it.
You know, I've heard that, Josh. I've heard that from someone else. They said, man, why didn't he just lay out to try to get that thing? I mean, just dive. I mean, that would have been a game changer. That would have changed. If he had scored on that play, that would have changed the whole complexion of the game. It would have given us some energy, and I think we would have had a totally different outcome on that game. But that was a huge play.
I totally agree, and I was actually watching the game. I'm kind of afraid to admit this. I was watching the game on my phone at a wedding reception, so hopefully they're not listening. Yeah, hopefully they're not listening to me because they might be a little upset. But I was watching it, and that happened. I was so upset, and a buddy of mine was sitting there watching with me, and He said, why are you, it's the first quarter, first drive. I'm like, that play right there, that could be the play. That could be the game changer, like you just said. And I was just like, man, I hope they can rebound from this. But, obviously they didn't. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that. And I totally agree with you, Tony.
I wonder what the coaches had to say to St. Brown about that particular play, because, like I said, this isn't the first time that I'm hearing that some people thought maybe he should have laid out to get that one. But that's a tough situation when you're running full speed down the field and that ball's being thrown. But it's just interesting that you brought up that fact. And I forget who it was, but I think it was an ex-teammate of mine was saying, man, he should have laid out for that ball. But tough situation.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the Hurricane defense was very impressive. They caused some turnovers, in which I have a question about those turnovers here in just a second for you, Tony. But they played fundamental football. I mean, those guys, Coach Rick does an awesome job with the offense and moving the ball, in which they had awesome field position. But that defense, they played pretty well as far as.
Oh yeah, they had some athletes out there, Josh. I had seen Miami play before, and they've never impressed me the way they looked against Notre Dame. But that's usually the case, especially down in Miami. Miami comes ready to really put it to Notre Dame whenever we go down there. But I saw them play the week before, and I wasn't really that impressed. But when I saw them against Notre Dame, they just looked. It took me back to the Jim Kelly days when he led the Hurricanes, and I mean they had speed and athletes all across the board, and I mean these guys could play. That's the way they looked on Saturday against us, just speed and athletes all across the field, and we had a tough time staying with them.
Yeah, we definitely did. And it just seemed like a totally different Notre Dame team. That's got a really bad vibe as far as the feeling of how confident they were, even after certain things, and whether that was jitters, whether that was because this game could lead to even better things, or they were maybe even looking ahead. I don't know that answer.
I don't know. I had that feeling, Josh. I saw leading up to the game, they were showing some clips on Sports Center and some of the different sporting channels of the players. And I saw Notre Dame, I think it was the day before the game. And either they were on the plane or they were somewhere, and they were taking selfies, and they were really relaxed. And I thought to myself, good, they look relaxed, but are they ready to play? That's right. They look relaxed, they're having fun, but are they ready to play? And as I look back on that right now, I hadn't really seen Notre Dame, the guys, the day before the game, be that relaxed and taking selfies and having fun. You wonder if the focus was there. You want the focus that needed to be there to play against Miami, to compete against Miami down there. But you never know. You never know. But it's just something that I noticed.
Yeah, and something that I don't know. See, here's the deal. I don't know how they plan this. I don't know if this is Coach Kelly's thing or what the deal is. Maybe it's the offensive coordinator. But and I know you have to try to change things quick, but I'm not sure. I don't know why the quarterback position gets changed when things happen negatively.
Right. I thought that was a pretty quick yank myself too, but excuse me, we couldn't get anything going. We could not move the football, and I think he felt that at that time, since we couldn't run it, our backup quarterback is a better passer, maybe we could pass it. And so I had a little hope there that maybe we could pass it, because I think we have the athletes at receiver and at running back to move the ball through the air if we have to. But they just never clicked. The offense just never clicked that day. And on top of that, I think we had 4 turnovers, and Miami didn't have any.
Yeah, and that really hurts a lot of different areas, such as the field position and the defense being put, kind of on an island to do some things. And they, for the most part, I know the score doesn't depict this, but that first half, I thought they did fairly okay when it come to being in a bad position because of turnovers and kind of holding their own a little bit. And they were
Right.
bad deals, but they, they're a growing defense. They're getting more experience. A year from now, or a year ago from now, they were an inexperienced, timid, just not a very good defense. And what difference makes with those guys. But I was just I have to give the defense a little bit of props, and especially the first half when it comes to being put in a bad position.
Right. I mean, but we just offensively, we didn't put up any points. 0 points in the first quarter, 0 points in the second quarter, and the fourth quarter. We scored 3 points. We scored 8 points in the third quarter. You can't win like that.
No, you can't win like that. What's that? I'm sorry, Tony. What'd you say?
No, I was just thinking about how we went 3 whole quarters in that game with 0 points.
Yeah, if you're a team that's going or trying to contend for the national championship, you definitely got to score, I would say, at minimum every quarter with some points.
Right. No doubt about it. And that was kind of unusual for us to have so many turnovers. 4 turnovers, and Miami didn't have a 1. So,
yeah,
they came ready to play. Miami came ready to play. Hopefully, we can just put this one behind us, use it as motivation going into this Navy game, who has a quarterback that can run. He throws the football pretty well, but he'll put it up for grabs because he has quite a few on the season. I think he has as many receptions as touchdowns on the season. So, but I think they'll be coming into South Bend with upset on their minds, and they're going to try to make their season by beating Notre Dame.
I'm glad you brought up that point about moving on. So on Facebook, we're in several different Notre Dame football groups. By the way, we are on Facebook. Listeners out there, we mentioned it earlier, we do have a Facebook page, Irish Football Weekly, that you can like and follow and get our shows anytime you like on there as well, and comment, and we can discuss things. But going along with those groups, there are several people that were just so distraught, so saddened by the loss that this season's over, and Brian Kelly should be fired, and it's a polar opposite. And a year ago, like I said just momentarily, a few minutes ago, everyone was thinking that, and how's he going to turn this around? How's this going to get better? And then it got better, and now everyone's riding the train. And I'm not calling out the fans, but I kind of am. And I know it's fandom, I know it's bandwagon, I get that. It just kind of irks me a little bit that, hey, we're still in the top 10, folks. Do we get in the college playoff? Yeah, very small, very, very small. A lot of things got to happen, but I just think we really have to say, okay, this is still a team that's looking to contend and get better. And hey, this season's not over yet, like you said, Tony.
Right. There's still a lot of football to be played. And we're still in position to where we could make this a very successful season by winning out, beating Navy, and heck, beating Stanford, and then the bowl game is going to be coming up. With our name, the Notre Dame name, you never know where we'll end up. And then a lot of the other teams, the Alabamas, they have to play against one another. So we still have to wait and see how that's going to turn out. But it's going to be our job to just stay focused on the job at hand for us, which is to beat Navy and to beat Stanford the following week.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into this Navy game. So it is on November 18th on Saturday. It starts at 3:30 up at Notre Dame. It will be on NBC, so tune in there. But like you said, you know, a Navy team that can run the ball fairly well. They got a quarterback that's pretty athletic.
Yep.
This is the 91st meeting of all time amongst these two universities, these two prestigious places. And, you know, Notre Dame's got the upper hand by quite a bit when it comes to the all-time record. They're 76-13-1 against Navy, and the very first meeting was in Baltimore in 1927. Notre Dame beat Navy 19-6, which that's a really long time ago. And so that's a really awesome thing to be a part of, I'm sure, as far as both institutions are concerned with that. And
Navy's coming into the game. I think they're 6-3 on the season. I'm looking at some of the stats here. Points per game, Navy normally gets 33.7. Notre Dame's at 38 points per game. Points allowed per game, Navy's at 30.3. Notre Dame's at 20.7. Total yards, Navy's coming in at 468. Notre Dame's 461. So very comparable. Yards passing, Navy only comes in at 98.7 yards a game. Notre Dame's passing is 168.5 yards rushing. Navy's coming in at 369 a game, and Notre Dame's coming in at 303, which is way down from where we were before we faced Miami last week. Yards allowed, Navy's giving up 410 a game, and Notre Dame's giving up 375. So, you know, some very comparable stats. I'm looking at who they've beaten up to this point. They beat SMU 43-40. They lost to Temple 34-26. They lost to UCF 31-21. And they lost to Memphis 30-27. I think last week they played Air Force Academy, or was it? No. They earlier in the season they played Air Force Academy, and they won 48-45. So.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but I was going to say, you know, the last meeting they had, Navy beat them by 1 down in Jacksonville, so they could go, you know, they're playing, their mentality, at least in my opinion, is, you know, let's make it 2 in a row, back-to-back years of beating the Irish, and they want to play heartbreaker even more, put kind of the salt in the wound, make it 2 losses for the Irish. And
I remember back when I was at Notre Dame, we would play those military schools. Man, I remember Navy had a guy by the name of Napoleon McCallum, and I think he ended up playing for the Raiders for a long time in the NFL. But, man, those guys, they came to beat us. They really came to beat us, and I remember one time being out at Colorado Springs, and we played Air Force. And I remember how they really came ready to play. So you definitely cannot take these military schools lightly. You better be ready to play.
Agreed. And to go along with all those things that, you know, Navy has to play for, you know, it's Notre Dame, it's senior day. And so the seniors, you know, kind of last hurrah there when it comes to playing their last home game. And it's hard to believe a couple things. One, it's already this far in the season.
I know.
It's just flown by, Tony. I don't know about for the listeners and the fans out there. It's just gone by so fast. I really blinked.
Unbelievable. It's been a great year. We've been playing good football. Compared to last year, there's no comparison. We've been playing good football. Just had, I would say, 1 or 2 major letdowns. And that Miami game was one, the Georgia game was the other. But those are good teams. So let's move on.
I have a question, Tony. You just brought up the Georgia game. What if okay, say Georgia ran the table besides let's say Notre Dame beat them in that second game, and Georgia ran the table, and they even beat Auburn, and Notre Dame lost the way they did to Miami. Do you think they would still be in at least the top 5?
Who's that, Georgia or Notre Dame?
So if Notre Dame would have just only lost to Miami, and Georgia would have just lost to Notre Dame.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because that Georgia game was so early in the season and so much has happened since then.
Sure.
And Miami beat us so convincingly. It's tough to say whether it would have made a huge difference. But I tell you what, we're still in the top 10 right now.
Yeah.
And there's still a couple of weeks left to play of football. So a lot of things can happen, and you never know. You keep winning out Notre Dame, and all of a sudden you're back in the top 5 or real close. And you're in the conversation for a playoff game. So, it's just they need to keep playing football right now. It's not over yet.
Yeah, and they got plenty to play for. These seniors that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, as they like to call it, into this game, this program, this university. These seniors, transforming the program with Coach Kelly and that new coaching staff from last year's kind of dismantled, season, I guess, and in turn worked their tails off in the off season.
They turned it around, and they're definitely be congratulated for the job that they've done turning things around from last year, because it's like night and day. And we, with the kind of year that Notre Dame has had so far, our recruiting should be pretty good. We should have a pretty good recruiting year. And if we win out and can kind of nudge our way back into the top 5, we can have a really good recruiting year. So we'll see.
Definitely. That definitely does help. And I just want to, before I forget, and I don't think I would ever forget this, but I just want to say thank you to all those seniors out there that are, playing their last game at Notre Dame. And I'm sure you could speak for the last time you played there. What kind of feelings did you have, Tony, that last game? What was
it? It was kind of surreal. It was kind of surreal because I remember the first game that I played for Notre Dame was at Michigan. And the first time I dressed as a freshman, we go out, we're playing Michigan up there, 100,000 people, national audience. I'm expecting to be the backup receiver because my former teammate at Mola, Dave Condini, was the starting wide receiver at Notre Dame. But it just so happened in pregame, he broke his arm. He broke his arm in warm-up somehow. And he comes to me and says, he goes, "Hunt, I can't go." I said, "What's wrong?" "I broke my arm." I said, "You got to be kidding me." He said, "I can't go." So I had to play. I played that game. I had a blast. I ended up, I forget how many passes I caught, but I had a really good game. And had fun doing so. And I started my whole 4 years at Notre Dame. So that was the beginning of it. And then by the time we got to our last game, which was against USC, out there, national television, at the Coliseum, it just kind of felt good to be ending my career against USC because they really recruited me hard out of Cincinnati. I don't know if you remember North Turner. North Turner was the receivers coach at USC at that time. He later became the tight end coach for the Rams when I was there, but North was the head coach with the Cowboys and I think the Redskins, I think San Diego. Norv has really done well in the NFL, but he really recruited me hard coming out of high school, and I had to tell him no, that I had to go to South Bend. I had always wanted to, and I'm going to go to South Bend.
that whole experience has got to be awesome, and not too many people out in the fan base here, the listeners, got a chance to possibly do that, to experience, getting recruited and going through that process and then ending their career, their athletic career in college. Some of them, I mean, like yourself, you knew you were playing at the next level, but there's tons of people that ended that that athletic organized sport competition.
It's something you've been doing your whole life. Something you've been doing your whole life, and your way of living is about to change. And it's kind of a surreal feeling. It really is.
My experience, kind of quickly here, and we can kind of move on and conclude the show, is it was a different feel. I got a chance to walk my mother and father out on the field, and get the hugs from the coaches and the handshakes, and hug your buddies that have already went before you and that come after you when it comes to coming down that line. And it's just a different feel. It's kind of a laying in the bed a little bit, understanding that this is coming to an end real soon, and you got to be thankful for all the times you had and will have, and the times we'll talk about later.
It's a very special feeling. Your parents are there on the field. I mean, the seniors, when they come out, I'm sure the parents will be there, relatives, and it's a special time. It really is. A lot of hard work goes into 4 years of college football. A lot of it. You're tested in ways, I can speak for Notre Dame, you're tested in ways beyond belief at times. But it helps you grow as a person. And when it's all said and done, you kind of look back on it and say, man, that may have been the best time of my life.
Yeah, it's definitely an awesome experience. So, again, thank you, seniors, for kind of setting the bar there for this year, and for those returning players and those new recruits coming in. Kind of moving forward and staying positive and getting better as a unit. But we're not going to do the 3 toughest picks this week. Not because I'm losing and I don't want to get beaten even worse, Tony. That's not it, I promise.
Okay.
There's not really any tough games to pick from, my opinion. I went through the list. There's really only one, but I think Wisconsin's going to win. They play at home against Michigan. That's the only really game that even comes close to being a tough game, in my opinion, or a really intense game. So we shut it down for this week. We'll bring it back next week and talk it up. And
that's the Ohio State Michigan next week, right?
Yeah, yep. And so that'll be probably one of the games to pick from. And I'm just kind of let you know that you're definitely going to win this year. So you got all games picked last week, and 16-8 it's your record now, which is, I would take that in a heartbeat compared to my 11-13. This is it's gotten better. I'm not going to lie, but it was pretty horrific, to say the best. That's the best.
Well, I'm better than I was last year, so I'm happy to say that.
That's awesome. So, well, that kind of concludes our show, listeners. Like I said, you can catch all of our shows on thegruelingtruth.net. You can also find us on several medias, such as Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Music, iTunes, which now has an app for us, the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Subscribe there and follow us and listen to all those shows. Also, iHeartRadio is also another good one. We also have social media. We both are on Facebook, Tony Hunter and Josh Benjamin. We do have a Facebook page, Irish Football Weekly. It's getting bigger and bigger and better each week, actually. We get a lot of different followers from the different Facebook groups, and so that's pretty awesome. And then we also have myself have a Twitter account at CoachJB4 for those guys and gals that like to tweet out there. So different places to talk. Irish football, which we love to do, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Tony, let's conclude this up here. Any final comments at all you want to say about the game or just anything in general?
Yeah, I just want to say that, there's still a lot to fight for in Notre Dame. Let's put that Miami game behind us. Let's look forward to the next 2 weeks. Let's beat Navy. Let's beat Stanford. Find ourselves back in the top 5, looking in toward the top 4. And let's keep pressing. Let's just keep pressing it. So still a lot to fight for.
Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. So we'll conclude on that. So for my co-host, Tony Hunter, this is Josh Benjamin signing off for Irish Football Weekly. Go Irish! Peace.
Go Irish.